Hey guys, it's Aequus and welcome to my YouTube channel. I figured I should record an introduction to this podcast because it started out kind of abrupt. It's mostly just because I'm new and I don't know what I'm doing yet, so bear with me as I get better at this. Other than that though, I really just wanted to thank you for stopping by and I hope you enjoy the podcast.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today about Jupiter. I kind of wanted to talk today about what inspired us talking and just kind of start off on there.
Okay, that sounds great. And thanks for giving me a chance to talk to you too.
Of course. So basically, as you know, kind of what has inspired this conversation was I was recently laid off. Me and my husband were both laid off. My company decided to, out of the blue, just shut down and close up shop.
Right.
So,
Right.
That was really great. So now both of us are unemployed.
Okay, so one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about that is because my fiance also just had her product line canceled at a job she worked at for 5 years, and she's PhD chemist and at top of her game and everything, and they just due to some managerial stupidity decided that they would cancel the entire product line out of nowhere after telling them, like the month before, they told them how great they were doing and how wonderful everything was going. And just seeing you and your husband go through that, it's just, I totally understand what you're going through. And so I was like, hey, I got some ideas.
You talked to me about you guys, did a little bit of magic, and Harper was able to land back on her feet again and get a job really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to tell me a little bit about what you guys did to make that turnaround and kind of change your world with Jupiter?
Well, basically, it sounds, when you put it that way, it sounds like we did all this wonderful, amazing, roll out the 9-foot circle and conjure up the spirits of Jupiter. But honestly, what we did is we lit a candle in front of this statue of Zeus that we got off the internet, and some smoke, and we lit some incense and poured out a shot, and we asked for everything to work out fine, and it really did.
It's that simple.
Well, okay, so yeah, it's that simple at this point. But she and I were both part of the Gentlemen for Jupiter cultists, whatever. For, I would say, maybe 8 months to a year or so, every week we would do a Jupiter rite every morning, and it was just the one that's in 7 spheres. It's the Trithemian-based conjuration of Tzadkiel and the reading of the Orphic hymn to Zeus, and just sitting there in his presence. And we did that every Thursday for almost a year, and we're sort of like good friends with that deity. So it wasn't like our first time on the Jupiter horse, so.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely at this point, that makes a lot of sense.
Right. But,
yeah.
that would be where I would start, where you're at, like on Thursdays at dawn. I'm sure you're up anyway.
Yeah.
When the sun comes up, you just, you light a stick of incense and you go through that. You have 7 spheres, right?
Yeah, I have it in front of me.
Yeah. Okay. So you go through that ritual. It takes about 10 to 20 minutes, depending on, your speaking voice and how long you take with it. And if you do that like every Thursday or so for a month or so, you'll be pretty immersed in the current. And usually with this stuff, it takes about 2 weeks to start seeing results. Like the first time you do it, 2 weeks later, you'll start to see the manifestation of the statements of intent. So like you go through and you read the conjuration rite, and then you read the Orphic hymn, and then you say something like, hey, by the way, we're kind of in a tough spot financially, and we could really use a good solid foundation. So please grant us the favor of kings and grant us the favor of kingship and bestow upon us the things that we need that will create for us the opportunities that we need to succeed and to fulfill all of our obligations. And oh, okay. I'm going to stop there for a second and
Okay.
Yeah, let you ask a thing.
No, it's okay. I was actually kind of following along with you and kind of following along in, with the book, because it kind of talks about this in your book.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess kind of this, you're going to laugh about this, but it's something that I have to admit, because I am so new in the occult world. When I first was trying to figure out how to even do a ritual such as you described, it was challenging for me because I just didn't understand what composed a ritual and how to essentially contact these spirits.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first picked up your book, it was months ago, and I I just didn't know what I was doing yet. So I put the book down and I played with some other things, and now looking over the book again, a lot more of this makes sense to me than it did even then. But at the time I had tried a different Jupiter ritual, and it required me to basically get a ceramic plate and write the sigil on the plate. And anyways, I did that, but I did it with a Sharpie, or not Sharpie, whiteboard marker.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I did it with a whiteboard marker, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm worried this is not going to come off of this plate. So I wiped it off, and it had left the the sigil of Jupiter on the plate. So I was like, great. So what do I do now? So I kind of lost my confidence with the ritual and panicked and then stopped. So so that's kind of what has been my hesitation with going towards your book. So in some of the other podcasts you've talked about just getting out and doing the magic.
Right.
So yeah, with your book, it has pretty much all of the essential things that you would find in other rituals, which is the candle, the scrying crystal or object, the wand, and the incense burner and holder. So essentially, is that just practicing regularly every week, is that enough to get started, or would you recommend just starting with the 7 spheres and working through it in the 5-week prescribed, I don't know, way?
So, I mean, so if you want to get control of your entire existence and move up through the 7 spheres and become a spiritually attained accomplisher of the great work, you should definitely do the 5-week program.
I want to.
Would you like
I genuinely do.
In 5 weeks? Let me tell you how.
Well, that's kind of why I was well, this is a great time to talk about it, because, since your book does kind of start with Jupiter for the 7 spheres, I don't know, I guess I was maybe now is the time to give it a second go and see how it works, or should I maybe just stick to working with Jupiter, because that's where my current needs are, which is just trying to rebalance my kingdom and gain that prosperity again.
Get a little bit of a push, a little bit of a lightning strike to get things going for you, Yeah. I think where you're at right now, and for other people who are at that point in their life where they are sort of hey, wait, what?
Yeah, what am I even doing?
a little bit of grace and kindness from the gods is something that we all need, in those moments, when we don't know where our next paycheck is going to come from, and we're running out of our savings, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that stuff happens to us. And as magicians, what we get to do is have a great control of influence over our opportunities, right? And that's basically the limit to what this stuff can do, in my opinion. You can influence things in your favor you can control some things, but most of the things, other people have a say in what their lives are like, and you can't make a person hire you for the perfect job, even if you think it's the perfect job, even if you do all the magics. You can
Yeah. Yeah.
you can make them want to, or make them think about it, but you can't make them do anything, because we all have free will, right? Or at least the illusion of free will. So, but I think where you're at, focusing on Jupiter, like every week, like just on Thursday mornings, spend that 10, 15, 20 minutes each Thursday. It's gonna give you that boost you need right now to get out of the
unemployment laid off field.
I was gonna say valley, but yeah, basically.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It gives you chances. The hard part, honestly. So the worst enemy that you have is your own lack of confidence. And speaking to somebody who's just starting out, or not just you, but anybody else out there who's just sort of a little nervous about their own, whether they're doing it right or not. Like that's the chief concern. Like, oh, I used a dry erase board marker on this ceramic plate, and now it's going to be there forever.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's just fine. Yeah, it's how clay works, and it's how the material world works. And what you did was you put out a sigil into this universe, the symbol of what your desire was, and the universe is reminding you for the rest of your life that, or until it eventually washes off in the dishwasher,
Yeah.
that you did this thing, and it's going to continue to influence things. I don't know. I tried to present in the Seven Spheres the most simple, basic way of doing magic I could think of, because I'm really lazy and I'm not very good at details. So the whole system is about as simple as it gets. You draw the circle, you put the thing that you're going to look into in the middle of it, and you say the words, and you experience the results. And it's going to be that easy for you too. And the thing about this whole magic thing is that no matter, and I probably said this before, I don't know, but no matter what you do, you're not gonna fuck up your life. It's not going to ruin everything, and there's nothing you can do with magic that you can't do with magic. So you don't have to worry about that kind of thing, and you don't have to worry about screwing it up, and you don't have to worry about all these things. And it's normal and natural for everybody to feel that way when they're starting out something new. Like, what if I do it wrong? Am I gonna get myself cursed because I've offended the gods? And meanwhile, the gods are like, oh, hey, look, somebody likes us again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a lot of it comes from, I think, just the people that I've had the opportunity to meet since I've started this. They've put a lot of caution around the actual practice, because they're like, well, you're new, you need to understand more. So, but then, there's the other side of, where people like yourself that are like, it's okay to just go out and practice it, try it, see what happens. If it doesn't work out great, or you make a mistake, you can unmake that mistake. Mm-hmm. And I think the unmaking the mistake is what led so much fear into actually picking up the book and working through all the stuff that's in here. But aside from that, I did still gain so much from your book, because it put into perspective, like you said, the simplicity. Mm-hmm. It's the most simple approach to magic that at least planetary magic that I can find. It really is.
And you know what? I just rewrote Trithemius. Trithemius did the most simple approach to planetary magic in the 15th century, and it's just like, none of what I write about is new. All of this stuff is just rewording stuff that other people did and talking about my experiences with it. And it's not like, I don't know. I think Trithemius created this really great system of conjuring spirits. He was like, oh, we conjure spirits, and we get results, and we do the great work, and we get closer to God, and we find out who we are, and we accomplish the whole process of this alchemy stuff. And it's really not that hard, and I would really like to sit down with them sometime and have a conversation, eventually. But
yeah, I think that would be great. I think you guys would have a lot to talk about because you basically brought everything that he had to offer back to light. And for me personally, I think because I drew to it so early in my journey, it was quite obvious because I can't even read Trithemius. Like it's you translate it really well for the new occultist and also for everybody. It's really an accessible book, but
I tried.
It helped me because I was just so not interested in the complications, at least where I am right now, that came with some of the other, magical books that are available.
The ethical boundaries around just obtaining one lion skin belt these days is a little difficult.
Yeah, I don't know if that's even possible. I don't know where I would even begin to find one. So,
if
yours is great.
If you really want one, what you do is you go to like these estate sales from old white guys who are dead, who went out and shot a bunch of lions in Africa because they were assholes and they had the privilege and they were able to do so. So,
well, definitely don't fit into that category of people, but thanks for making Magick accessible again.
Yes, it's pretty easy. And I don't know, a lot of the things, like there's two different schools of thought for people who are just starting out. And it's like, be very careful because you're new and you don't know what you're going to get into and you won't know how to figure out how to get out of it. But at the same time, there's, it's really, this is what we've done for 10,000 years to get through the ice ages and whatnot. We call them the spirits to help us out. And I don't know, the whole relationship between the magician and the spirit world, to me, it's always been one of they are our partners and they're happy to help, and they're happy to help us out of problems that we make for ourselves because we didn't understand what we were doing. Just as much as they are happy to put us into trouble,
I'm glad that you brought that up because it kind of mentions or talks about grace, and like how Jupiter, is very graceful. You can essentially make those human mistakes because you didn't know something, and the spirits are kind of there to help you and say, it's all right, let's fix this.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's great.
They like us. They really like us.
I know. Imagine that they like us. Yeah, it's a different approach from the people that are very cautious about it, and they're like, well, do they really like us though? But I think they do. So
well, yeah. Do you have kids?
I do. I have a 1-year-old, so she's keeping me quite busy right now, and the reason why I need to keep a roof over this kingdom. So.
Right. So, all right. So, what is it? Talking at 1 and walking at 2, or what? I can't remember. Mine are 17 and 18, and it's
yeah. I think it's walking at 1 and maybe talking at 2, but she's definitely talking a little.
Right. So when she started walking, did she do the thing where she like held onto the edge of the couch and crawled along the side of it?
Yeah, exactly. The surfing, yeah.
Yeah, and did you let her fall down sometimes and get back up?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Right. So I think a lot of the people who worry about new people experimenting in the occult don't have children.
That makes perfect sense, actually, because I can see it. I can totally see it.
Right.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they're running around the house and opening things up and getting into stuff that they shouldn't. And oh my gosh, there's blood. Oh no, what do we do? Oh, a Band-Aid. Oh, that's right. It's never as bad as people think it's going to be. And a lot of people without kids who haven't seen the terrors that children put themselves through. And there's going to be another disaster 6 weeks later, and it's not that big of a deal. And that's exactly what learning how to do magic is like. Yeah, you're gonna have some orange stains in the carpet that you have to steam clean out sometimes. Big deal. You're going to forget about it.
Yeah, especially in the grand scheme of all of life. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so definitely don't be afraid of Jupiter. I mean, Jupiter is just, he's like, he's like dad, you know, like the good dad, the good fathers that you've heard about. And yeah, he's kind of a jackass sometimes, but if you look at everything that comes out of Jupiter, it's gods and heroes, you know, in mythology. Yeah. You get Hercules, you know, you get all, I mean, he was just kind of awesome in a lot of ways. I mean, he was also a jackass rapist motherfucker, but at the same time, you know, most of the things that he did for human beings were good. And
yeah.
And he's gonna have your back the way a good father would.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of with all spirits though. So that's totally fair, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
One of the key things for Jupiter, like manifestation, is giving. You know, when you give grace and you show grace and you are careful with other people and you're protective and you build those boundaries, you know, and you take care of people like, you know, like the good father would, it definitely keeps the negative aspects from popping up.
Yeah, so like kind of like keeping like the, I guess like the current flowing. So if, you know, grace is bestowed upon you, definitely keep doing that and do it for other people in your day-to-day life, essentially.
Right.
Is that like the best way to describe it?
That's exactly the best way to describe it. Like everything from telling somebody, hey, you look really good today, I like your haircut, to, you know, giving money to some homeless person that you know is going to spend it on booze, but so what? And, you know, just letting people live their lives and helping them live their lives. You know, the rest of the universe tends to step in and help you live yours.
Yeah, for sure.
And you don't have to be rich
to do that.
Agree. You don't have to donate $10,000 to a Kickstarter that's going to save the world from cancer. You don't have to do that level of stuff. You know, if you smile at your cashier on your way out of the grocery store, you know, and just like, I don't know, the other day at Target, somebody wanted to vent to me about all their problems as a human being. And, you know, I didn't have time for that. So I smiled and I said, you know, you're doing a really good job with your life. You know, and that's all people need to hear, usually. Just, I'm proud of you. Keep doing well.
Yeah.
You know?
Keep doing a good job. For sure.
And that passes on that Jupiter current in a way that it comes back to you. You know? It really does sound kind of, I don't know. So sometimes I worry that I sound like some kind of weird, what are they called? Life coaches or whatever.
Like a do-gooder.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
It really is that simple, especially as magicians, because everything we say happens sooner or later, you know?
Yeah.
Good or bad.
I think that's kind of something that when I first started like getting into planetary magic and just like trying to like read your book and understand, I think it's like easy to kind of cling to the aspects of, you know, Jupiter, which are, you know, if you do have it work out in your favor and you do start getting that money or you do start getting that job or whatever it is that's making you feel prosperous and allowing you to keep doing your great work, it's easy to, I guess, forget to continue to be graceful to other people and keep that flow going. And that was something I didn't really expect to think about or learn, I guess. But I'm glad that you brought it up because, you know, we need some do-gooders. And I think you mentioned in another podcast, if it tricks people into becoming better people,
right.
then great.
Yeah,
so
I get a better world to live in.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, if everybody wants riches, cool, and they come out better people on the other side, then great. So I definitely heard that loud and clear. And, you know, I'm looking forward to rebalancing my Jupiter energies and, you know, hopefully becoming financially stable. I'm going to say not wealthy, financially stable, and prosperity to me is more just being able to continue to do my great work, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one of the things I noticed is that the more into helping people I get, the better my quality of life is, regardless of the money. And like, I'm happy, I'm stable, I'm okay with it, and all my needs are met, and I don't have to think about it, and I get to focus. Yeah. The more I've spent my time focusing on helping other people succeed, the better, I don't know, the better I feel about myself, and everything else just sort of falls into line. And it's kind of weird, but that's what Jupiter does. He blesses his kids. He blesses his coworkers. He makes it possible for his fellow gods and goddesses to exist, even though their dad sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because I definitely have had those experiences. I think in my short period of time, I've definitely seen, some less than desirable results, but I'm excited to at least, give the Jupiter rituals a try and, see where I end up. But ultimately, I'm actually just kind of glad that I was able to talk to you about my newness, because I think maybe that will hopefully help other people that are in the same situation, just picking up your book, trying to figure out how to start implementing Jupiter into their lives.
Yeah, I really wrote that thing so that people could just hit the ground and floor the gas pedal, because there really is no reason not to. And all you get out of it is either positive experiences or negative experiences that lead to positive experiences. Like, nothing bad has ever happened to me from all that stuff. A lot of people, like, I do this thing where we do the 7 spheres in 7 days, and basically it restarts your life, and it kickstarts everything, and it releases all the powers of all the planets into your life at once, and it has nowhere to go except for into your weakest points, which get shattered, and your strongest points, which get strengthened. And it can be kind of a nightmare 2 weeks for people, who go through that kind of thing. But what they get when they're sweeping up the pieces is this beautiful existence. They find the love of their life. They start a business. A friend of mine did it last year in November, and he's got a restaurant now, that he had not even thought he would have in November. And he started his own restaurant, and it's working, and it's like, I don't know,
I think I know that person.
Yeah. I think you do. So, yeah.
I think I do. That's amazing.
All this stuff, it all works out, and it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all. I mean, it hurts maybe a little bit, oh my God, this woman who is making me miserable for 12 years has left me for another man. Oh, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's what you actually probably wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right, And I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about me. That was my ex-wife, my second ex-wife. Yes. So, but no, I mean, all this stuff, it really works out well.
I'm in your group, the 7 spheres in 7 days thing, and I've been trying to see what happens to somebody in 7 days. So, I haven't.
Yeah, nothing happens in 7 days.
Recently.
Everything happens in a month.
So in a month. Okay.
Yeah, like a month after you do the 7 spheres in 7 days, everything will
start to materialize.
Yeah. Okay. So I always tell everybody it's a bad idea and don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I really want people to do it because it's a lot of fun, But I'm the kind of person who really gets off on having new experiences. And I like to see my entire life fall apart, and I like to recreate it. It's like tearing up the puzzle and starting a new one. I don't know how to. That's just me. I get off.
I'm actually glad that I finally got to ask you about that, because you really do warn people. You're like, don't do it. It's a bad idea. And so I always listen, and I'm like, all right, I won't.
Right.
But at the same time, you're kind of an advocate for it as well.
Right.
So it's confusing.
I want everybody to do it, secretly. That's my thing. I want everybody to just destroy their lives and start over again, because those are the moments in my life where I gained clarity and understanding of who I am and what it is I'm here to do, because when I dropped out of college and I hitchhiked across the country and lived on a commune and went to somebody's friggin', they're going to jail because they stole my truck, and they're one of my best friends.
That's crazy.
Right. It's
all of that has happened.
Stuff. Yeah. That all happened like in 6 months. And out of that came my career as a cook, where I started as, a line cook, and I ended up managing a kitchen and getting all this restaurant experience and management experience. And then I took that and applied my management experience to the IT industry that I understood, because my dad bought Tandy computers, and it all piles up. And I really like new things, and I like new projects, and I like to start over again, frequently. And it's good. It's always good. Even when it's bad, it's good,
Yeah, I was going to say, even when it's bad, it is still good. And I think if we all look at our lives just as a whole, we can kind of see that that's where our growth comes from in general anyways. So by intentionally, I guess, doing the 7 spheres in 7 days, you're just like, you've had enough. You're ready. You're like, okay, reset. This is my reset button.
Exactly. It's lighting the fuse, and it's going to explode, but you also know that you're going to have a very clear space to start over in, and you can do whatever you want.
I love it. So I guess here's my next question for you, which is going to be kind of interesting. So I don't know if I'm ready for this type of commitment, but say I were to try to do something like this and document it for my blog. Would that be a good or bad idea in your opinion?
I think it would be a great idea. No.
Okay, good.
Okay, so, all right. Speaking as somebody who is relatively new to the occult, what kind of blogs do you get the most out of?
I get the most out of blogs where I learn from other people's experiences doing the work.
Anecdotes, right? Exactly. That's exactly it. It's anecdotes. It's telling people about what happens when you do the magic. Not this theory about the Kabbalah and which sphere is which and all that path crap. It doesn't mean anything. You can have the entire universe in your head and do nothing with your life. And I can point to 50 or 100 or 500. I can point to several people that understand, the theory of magic better than I ever will, who have complete crap lives and live in their parents' basements. And I know that that's not a very cool thing to say right now, because a lot of people are taking care of their parents and living at home for various reasons. And I don't want to insult those people in any way, shape, or form, but
it's drawing a narrative of people who are unwilling to make that change in their life and are comfortable living in their parents' basements.
Right, and in their heads. They're very comfortable living in their heads, and they don't really care so much about their environment. And that's fine, too. If that's the life you want to live, more power to you. But, this thing where if I have to wake up in the morning and breathe every day, I want something in exchange for that. And I want experiences, and I want good booze. I want a decent steak with some blue cheese on it once in a while. I want, I want that. I want the visceral pleasures of life, and you don't get that if you're safe and secure in your head and eating ramen at night.
I was going to say that sounds a little all too relatable. Okay. But yeah, so I guess it sounds like it's going to be a fun project for me to start. So maybe anyone who is listening to this can look forward to what types of things I get into in my free time since this conversation kind of inspired me to, I guess, pick back up the book and start with Jupiter and maybe commit myself to doing all 7 spheres maybe in 7 days. I don't know.
Well, maybe not.
I haven't got that far.
It's a
I
bad
haven't got
idea.
that far.
I'm telling you, it's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea. I know. But I've got all this time.
Well,
and
you got nothing to lose. What are you going to do?
I'm already at a clean slate, right? So, like, I mean, it could probably get worse, but, you know.
All right. So here's my advice to you. Do the 5 weeks thing, 6 weeks, whatever it is. And
yeah, for the original initiation, right?
Yep.
You mentioned.
Do it progressively and use it as a platform to build up your life. Think about what you want your life to look like. And when you do the Jupiter right, say what you want your kingdom to look like. When you do the Mars right, say what the boundaries you want to be in place are, you know, and take it down, you know, take it down through all the 7 spheres the way I talk about it in the book, and just progress through them gently and give yourself time to integrate the forces that you're releasing, you know, and build up the life that you want, because you're in a position right now where you can do whatever you want to with it, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, what I initially thought about the most was the timing is just kind of perfect because I don't have a job and I do have this opportunity to completely start over and build my kingdom. So the 7 spheres is kind of perfect, and the Jupiter as the intro is also kind of perfect. So everything's lining up. So
right.
Thank you.
You should also take it in your own direction and feel free to, you know, do your own thing with it, because this whole thing that I did with it, I started with a blog, you know, and I started with a blog because I was talking to people who knew less than me about things.
Relatable.
And yeah, exactly. Right. So
I'm just like, I don't know dudes either. So I totally know what you're saying.
I'm not saying that being a professional occultist is a great way of life, but you know, it's a nice extra $30,000 a year over and above your day job. You know, it's not a bad life. I know people who've turned it into a 7-figure thing, but that's all they do, and that's not me. I'm not interested. So
yeah, I feel like I relate to you in that way. I'm not I'm not super interested. I mean, I think it would be great to have 6 figures, but to be honest with you, I just want to be here, and I just want to do my work and make enough money so that I can do my work and hopefully leave something really beautiful behind for generations after me, and just kind of keep influencing people that, as I've found myself in the occult world, that are drawn to what I'm doing and have questions. And I'm just as new and confused as they are. So as I kind of go through this work, I think kind of having my blog and documenting it maybe will be a good thing.
Yeah.
and
every
it will hopefully connect people.
Every blog post becomes at least a chapter, or at least a paragraph in a chapter of your books when you publish them. So
yeah, that's another thing I've noticed, because we talked about this earlier, but I did a different blog for BJ Swain's book.
Mm-hmm.
And
we should really plug him. Good book.
Yeah, it is an amazing book. It really did change my life, because I was just constantly reading about people talking about spirits as if they were extensions of our psyche, and I was like, I disagree with this. Right. I need to engage with them as spirits, because they're spirits. Like, please. Yeah. So I was just like, I can't get around this.
Hello.
So yeah. So his book definitely helped lead me into understanding books like yours, where, you actually do talk about Jupiter as a spirit, and, you're like, all right, okay, I know what I'm doing. I can, actually get into this ritual and do the scrying and have that spiritual experience versus maybe the extension of my psyche experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
and I have connections that go back to like Ask a Witch on AOL back in the 90s. So, you know, I mean, he and I have been talking for years and years and years, and reading his book was just like having a conversation with him, you know, and that's how he talks. That's how he talks about everything. And you can't hear some of the bitter angst that he feels about the occult community in his actual published works, but that layer of understanding of how magic works that completely ties back into what you'll experience as you go through the seven spheres and stuff, and anybody else who has experienced it. It's real magic, you know. It's a real magician talking about real magic. So yeah, I can't big up him enough.
Well, yeah, I can't either. Just because I think, you know, aside from him and you, both of you, just the work that you put out there in your blogs and your books, have helped me kind of get into doing the magic myself, you know, actually getting that confidence and more so just understanding. Like you said, he kind of talks like he would, just regularly. And I find the same in your book as well, because it really is just like it is talking to you right now in your book.
Yeah, I got a job at a bank. You know, I work at Wells Fargo now, and the people that I worked with, like after 2 weeks, they were like, "Okay, this guy's a little weird," you know. And then they found out I was a published author, and they're like, "Can I see your book?" And I'm like, okay, sure, why not? So I brought in my book, and they read like 2 chapters, and they're like, "This is just how you talk in real life."
Wow. Okay,
like,
I have to know more about this because I have always wanted to know what real life occultists do in these situations.
Well, all right.
I'm like, how do you explain to people like what you do that's not your day job?
It took about 15, 18 years before I was this comfortable with it, because I know now that it doesn't matter what you people think of me. I will just do my thing and I will be fine.
That's crazy. So were they pretty receptive to it? Like, oh yeah, I understand. Or were they just like, this is weird, but it's cool that you talk the same?
One of them sent me, all right. So, okay. So you think they're going to be like super stodgy and not get it, right? Well, one of my coworkers on my team right now, she sent me this picture of, like, we're friends on Facebook now, and she sends me this picture of this cat eating gnomes. And my sister sent me this statue of a cat eating gnomes, like, relatively recently. So, like, you know, they're all kind of in tune more than we give them credit for. You know?
Yeah.
We think that...
I think that they don't understand, right?
Mm-hmm. But they do, and they have very weird lives too. You know? And it's like, okay, you're as weird as I am, and maybe we don't drink the same things. Maybe you like Key Light on a on a Saturday night, but whatever.
That's honestly, that's refreshing because, you know, as I put more of my own work out here, I don't know if you know this, but I live in Utah, so I'm like,
yeah, you got it rough.
I'm the only one like me out here.
Oh,
so
I know 2 others in Utah like you.
2, okay, you'll have to
exactly.
We'll have to meet each other because it's hard to find people around here, but you know, living in Utah, it's really challenging, and I have a lot of people that I've been friends with my entire life, and this whole place is just completely Mormon, and so putting my work out there is tricky.
My first ex-wife left me for a Mormon, or for a guy who was a magician at the time, and he became a Mormon, and they were all Mormons, and my first child was raised Mormon by this other guy and my first ex-wife, and totally, he's John King III. Are you familiar with him? The Royal Art?
No.
Oh, he's kind of a big deal in the occult. And he also went super Mormon. But the Mormons have this occult tradition that challenges Trithemius. I mean,
Seriously? Okay, so I have tried to repel, like, seriously, I've lived here my whole life, but I have wanted nothing to do with it. So I don't know anything about the Mormon
I
religion.
understand. I don't want anything to do with it either. I think it's weird. I think it's like kind of culty, and
It is.
it's like, no, thank you, but I also joined the OTO, so I can't say too much shit.
Same. So,
Right.
same. But
Right. So, you know,
it's a little bit different.
the OTO is like Mormons that didn't quite make it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true though. It really is. Like, you can see the similarities.
But when John Smith was his corpse had a Jupiter talisman on him. The guy that found
actually, really? I feel like I just heard about that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He was totally into angel magic. You know, he had a talisman on him when he died. When he was hung. They were like, oh, what the fuck is this?
See, they're all so close. I live in a state full of people that are so close, but so far.
But so far.
But so far.
It's the so far part.
It really is. It's just like that's how it has felt my whole life though. It's like I've been near the occult, right? It's always been just there, but it wasn't there. I don't know. So now that I'm here and I can, talk freely about the occult, it's a different world, but I still live in Utah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, there are others like you there. And they're very weird. They're very strange people. But I know two of them. So
well, I love the weird and strange people, so I don't know. But yeah, definitely, I guess kind of to bring back the reason I brought it up is really just publishing my own work and talking about the occult freely and openly, I think is kind of a big deal for everybody. And especially if you live in a place like where I do. So, yeah, it's kind of inspiring just to see like you and just everybody else. You talk about the occult on your Facebook just all the time. And I've kind of wondered, you mentioned you had like your coworker actually add you. So you keep everybody on your on your page and you just talk about it and live life. And if people say questions and ask weird things, answer them or.
Yeah, and I tell them straight up, look, before you friend me on Facebook, I talk about weird shit, and chances are it's not going to be socially acceptable, especially the way I cuss, and you need to be aware of that before you add me as a friend. And they're like, okay, and then they add me as a friend, and then like half of them drop me, and I'm like, no problem, and feel free to not pay attention to what I say on Facebook because I am not your normal average human guy. I'm not Joe Sixpack. I'm Joe Bullet Bourbon. So
the occultist that writes Seven Spheres.
Yeah, and deal with it or don't, and take me or don't. And I guess that's sort of, one of the things about Jupiter is when you're the king of your world, you get to do whatever you want. You're the king. And you have to take care of your kingdom, and you have to take care of the people in it, and you have to protect them and keep them safe. But at the same time, when there's other nations, or foreigners from other lands, strangers in a strange land, you welcome them, you accept them, but you don't change your culture for them. It's not for them.
Yeah.
And that's a level
that's
of
grace.
confidence.
That's loving your neighbor.
Yeah. But it's also a level of confidence in yourself that, I don't know. It's super easy for me as a white guy.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I feel like it's as we kind of, go into this new phase of, I don't know, technology and whatever, I feel like everybody is kind of being more comfortable with kind of coming out and being weird. But maybe that's just my perception of the world because I've only known it this way. I don't know. I can't tell if technology is increasing people's interest or not, but seems to be.
You hang out with a very particular group of weird, and I do too.
Yeah. A very particular group of weird.
So I was friends with my parents on Facebook for a while, and they are in a completely different sect of weird, and they love Trump, for example. And it's like,
Interesting.
yeah, I got blocked by more of my parents' friends on Facebook than anybody else in the history of being blocked by people. And
Yeah,
and I piss people off regularly, I mean, it takes.
I feel like you kind of get a giggle out of it though, so.
Yeah.
Just a little bit?
Maybe a little
It's
bit.
okay though. Maybe just a little. It's okay. I quite enjoy it, and I really appreciate you just for taking the time to speak to me today and talk about Jupiter. And
Well, yeah, I think you're probably one of the up and comers, and you're going to be the voice of the future. The thing that you said about looking out for other people who are just coming into it and giving them a little groundwork. That's the entire reason I did all this stuff too. And if you understand Naruto, so I will say it that way.
honestly, seriously, I'm so sad that I haven't seen Naruto sooner because I was like, okay, like, because it was a thing. Like everybody was like doing it right, and I was like, those kids are weird,
Right.
But it wasn't. I was just like afraid to admit that I was like weird too. So yeah, Naruto is great.
Well, see, and for me, it's my kids. I'm 45 years old, and my kids are 17 and 18, and the younger one was watching Naruto, and I'm like, fine, whatever, because when my fiance's out of town, I have to watch whatever they want to watch on TV.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
as is life with kids.
Right. So I'm watching it and I'm like, I don't understand this. That looks interesting, but I don't get it. So I started watching it from the beginning to the end. And oh my God, up until they actually made a movie, it was great.
Isn't that always what happens though? They like try to make it into a movie and then they just ruin it. So
yeah.
Good to know though. I'll have to start it from start to finish, but
the theory is that eventually you understand that it's the future that we're working for. It's not us. I mean, we're experimenting with this occult stuff and doing the 7 spheres and figuring out what happens and talking about it and making blog posts and doing all this stuff, right? But it's not. We're talking about us, but it's not about us. It's about the people who read it and take it and do something bigger with it. I mean, I didn't think I would ever have a fandom, but I do.
But you do, and I'm totally part of it. Sorry.
Well, okay, you are an exception to the rule, but you're kind of dumb. And,
it's okay. I know great work when I see it.
Well, and that's just it. And see, that's the thing about Naruto. Oh, okay. Anyway, but no, if you do what is most important to you, and you hold true to the things that are what in the OTO they talk about, the true will and the great work and all that stuff. If you hold to that stuff, other people will recognize it. The people that need to hear it will always hear it. So you should definitely write up your blog posts, and you should definitely keep doing interviews, and you should definitely keep promoting yourself and getting yourself out there, because other people really need to hear it. And especially, I know this is going to come across as sexist or in some ways to some people, but hearing a woman's voice speak to the occult truths is something that so many women have not had growing up, and I wish you all the luck.
Honestly, all of those words, they mean more to me than I think I can ever say, because I kind of saw that as I came into the occult. And so I was just like, this is kind of where I feel like I can fit in, is maybe, try to give this to people and give that female voice to people, because it really is, in my experience, uncommon. I mean, all the books I've read have been from men still. So, but maybe my blog will turn into something really great like that, and then I can make my own book someday for, the next little generation of ducklings that come through trying to figure out how to do the great work.
Yeah,
So.
And I'll give you a little bit of a heads up here. If you sell 1,000 books in your lifetime, you'll impact about 50,000 people. So, it makes a big difference. No matter how big the return on investment seems, keep doing it, because it just keeps piling up.
That's it's so crazy that you brought that up, because I think you mentioned in another podcast that you did 1,000 prints, and then maybe 10,000 people would read the ebook and whatever, and but even still though, that it keeps growing. It doesn't just stop at that 1,000 copies of the book. It's like contagious.
Right, exactly.
And
it's infectious.
People that see the work, they're like, wow, he did that thing. I want to do that thing. So yeah, it's inspiring. And
so you go inspire other people. Hurry up.
I don't have a job to do now. So
you've got like between now and 3 a.m. to write blog posts.
Yeah, now and 3 a.m. Go write a blog post. Mercury's in retrograde. Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Sorry.
Just piss everybody off. And really. and then you can spend the next Mercury direct explaining what you really meant.
Yeah, guys, this is just chaos was happening.
No, you don't understand. No, I said it clearly.
Yeah.
What part of that?
Yeah,
I understand.
I was a little worried that this podcast was going to go something crazy, because I was like, great, technology is going to repel me. I'm not going to make any sense. So
nope,
hopefully when this is released, everyone's like, yep, I know exactly what she was saying.
There you go. All right.
Perfect. Well, I guess we'll just wrap it up here. Thank you again. I sincerely appreciate your time. And I don't have any other questions. So I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you very much.